Hello, hello. Oh, yeah. We're way off center there, aren't we? Let's really move that over. Really move that over. Gosh, that doesn't really seem to be helping, does it? Well, it's fine. We'll turn it in a minute. We'll turn it in a minute. I'm just making some minor adjustments here. So bear with me while I do that. Had a little photo shoot here this afternoon. Oh, goodness. Let's turn that down. We don't want that. Hello, hello. All right, there we go. Hi. Wow, that's just crazy. It's all crazy skiwampus. Well, it's going to be fine until we rotate, okay? Hi, guys. Hello. Hello, and happy Monday. Yes. A little photo shoot here earlier with Jill, the newest member of the team that is helping some social media and product photography and project photography and things like that. So, had to just get a little bit of, anyhow. We also took a little kind of fun shot for the idea book for social media. And so I had to have bright colors on because I'm kind of holding it like this. You guys will see. You guys will see next month. Hello and welcome to the March setup of the season pass. Welcome, welcome. My name is Lael Kankar. If we haven't met before, I have a business called Lael by Mail. We do lots of things here. I have my own product line. We do lots of different things. But tonight we are here to work with the winter spring season pass and specifically with the March portion of the winter spring season pass. We will be working on getting our traveler's notebook set up for the month of March. Just a little stressed leaving Wednesday morning for Seattle for a week because our son's getting married. So there's just lots of moving parts right now, but we're here together to have fun tonight. If you're watching live, there's a chat that takes place. If you want to pop in and say hi in the chat, I would love to see you and know that you're here. If you're watching the replay, welcome to you. Pop into the comments on the replay and let me know you're here, okay? Okay. Also, if you give us a thumbs up, that would be much appreciated. Me, and I'm sure Reggie, the cat, will make an appearance because lately he's been about halfway through anything I do. He likes to just jump right up here. So we may see him, who knows? Maybe he'll grace us with his presence. Right now, he is laying outside of the door, and he is on his back, all four paws in the air, which for a cat is very vulnerable. That means he's very comfortable here, but it looks quite amusing because he's, like, not belly up, he's, the other way. Anyhow, so let me take a quick look at the chat. We'll see who's here, and then we'll get started, okay? All right, let's see who we have here. Hello, Shelly. Yes, time-wise. I think we figured that out, right? And actually, Joyce, really, if you guys didn't know, I'm Mountain Time. But I always say Pacific because Mountain Time is that weird time zone that people are like, wait a minute, what is that? Where is that? So I say Pacific. But anyhow, I think we're all here, right? If you're here, you're here. And if you're watching the replay, you're watching the replay. And we're good at it anyway. So welcome to Shelly. Welcome to Joyce. Dawn. Carrie. Hello. Carrie said, I can hardly believe we are already getting ready for March. I know, isn't that crazy? March. Like, holy cow. Holy cow. February's almost over. Time goes faster as you get older. I think so too. Paper Maid Bakery said she is new here. Welcome, Paper Maid Bakery. She's loving all the fun stuff. She was working this afternoon on her first Traveler's Note project using the season pass. I love that. So nice to have you here. This is a free class. So if you maybe just stumbled across me or maybe you have been following me for a while, but you've never maybe purchased season pass, you've never purchased either the kit itself or any of the individual components, all the cart pieces, the classes now in 2026 are free and open to everyone. So we figured might as well. And then you can kind of get a feel for how I set up my Traveler's Notebook. I kind of have a formula. I change it out every month, and I've been doing this probably for about the last 8 years or so, every month. So just hang out with us. We have a lot of fun. You might learn something, and maybe you'll just have fun. Because we do. We certainly do. Dawn is from Calgary, Alberta. I love that. Dawn, holy cow. And I was talking to Dawn for a minute, and anyone else that's Canadian. The Olympics, oh my goodness. Both the men's and the women's hockey games were unbelievable. Both teams played so well. And although I am from the United States, I think that, don't even say it, don't, it's our little secret. I didn't say this. The Canadian men absolutely outplayed us. Holy cow. And it just, in overtime, and I get pretty much, you can flip a coin almost, right? But that game, I thought you guys had it. But anyhow, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful entertainment. I'm always so glad, sad, not glad, so sad when the Olympics are over because I love it. I love to watch it. So congratulations to the Canadians. You guys, amazing. Holy cow, amazing. Let's see. Glow, hello, hello. Yeah, she can't believe we're prepping for March. I know, right? Sandy, hello from Texas. Dawn, prayers to everyone in Mexico and their family and friends. You know what? Oh my goodness, right? Wow. The cartel stuff that's happening, and it is a mess. It's a mess. Jill, that has joined the team. She's a daughter that has been serving a mission for the LDS Church in Mexico. Now, not right where it's happening, but I don't know. They've got levels, alert levels, and like Puerto Vallarta, that area is a level 4 alert, where her daughter is a level 2 alert. Well, her daughter's being released from her mission just because her time's up on Wednesday. So Jill and her husband were flying down there, and now they're like, ooh, what do we do? They were going to stay a couple extra days and kind of tour around and go to some remote areas that her daughter really enjoyed. Well, she's been there for 18 months, and it's like, don't go. Just scary, right? So yeah, we just hope that unrest gets back to some semblance of normal soon, right? Just scary, scary, scary time, absolutely. Kathy said, yay, spring is coming. I know, thank goodness, right? Although here in Utah, where I live, usually we get hammered with snow in March and April. Like no snow virtually up until this point this year. And we're going to get hammered in March and April, and then I'm going to be sad. Because that's when we're really ready for spring, right? Let's see. Shelly said she lives in Georgia, but originally from New Brunswick. Joy, hello, hello. Joy, I was reading about your friend Barry Manilow, and now he had to cancel some more concerts because of that. That's too bad. I know we were talking about that before. Hello, Carrie from Spokane. One Crafty Bee Creations from Kyla and Izzy in Spokane. I love that. So fun to have you guys here. Dawn from Southeast Michigan. McNeese from Hockley, Texas. Paula and Shane. McNeese is excited because she loves the flowers and the birds. I know, you guys. It just keeps getting better. And you know what? The spring summer one. If you think winter spring was good, oh, wait till you see spring summer. Holy cow! That releases on March 5th, by the way. So watch for that. I will also tell you, we are right now wrapping up summer fall already because it just takes time to produce everything. So you guys, it just keeps getting better and better. I can't wait to share. Can't wait till you see it. Joy's getting ready for grandbaby number 2. That's so sweet, so exciting. Hello, Sarah from Minnesota. I just want to say hi to everyone, then we'll get going. Hello, Laura. My friend Rosie Posey Studios here. She is one of the creative team members. An incredibly talented one at that. Nice to have you here with us, Laura. She's also Canadian. Hello, Cindy with the purple hearts. Oh, yeah, pink. You know what? I think, when they say, I've never had my colors done, but when they put all the different, hold the different colors up to you, I'm pretty sure that pink is one of mine, I think. Thank you. That's very nice of you to say, Shelley. I appreciate that. Queen B8, hello. Jillian, lots of Jills, I know. Laura, hello, Laura. I'm a supermodel. Oh, yeah. You're sweet. Angela, Lori Land, yes. I wore this once before. I wore this on our February, I don't know, one of the things we did right around Valentine's Day. Target, right? I saw it in Target. I'm like, oh, so cute. Just had to buy it, right? It's a good color for filming. All right, we're going to get through. We're just about through all of our hellos, and then we're going to get going. Bev Hills, hello. I love that. She said, what a great way to end a Monday. So fun. Charlene is still working on February, but she's excited for March. That way to be positive, absolutely. And then as I read through, hello, Marion. Nice to see you. I'll be close to you, Marion. Starting on Wednesday. Well, Seattle, but, closer than Utah. Hello, Luann. She's dropping in from Baltimore. That's quite a ways away from home for you. Hello, Ann P. Virginia's here. Virginia is in the house. Yeah, I know that the end of that game with the Americans bringing the Goudreau kids in, that like sobbing. Oh my gosh, just breaks your heart. But what an amazing, hockey community with those boys that passed, boys and their men, but passed away. Just heartbreaking, heartbreaking, heartbreaking. I didn't know that story either. We had to Google it because we're like, what is that? We Googled it and we're like, oh my goodness, yeah. And then the parents were there. Oh, yes. Okay. Lots of Georges in the house. It looks like lots of Georges. I think I missed Amy Self, but Amy Self is here. Hello, loves my Griffin more. Thank you, thank you. Mary C plans. I see everyone, but now I'm just trying to scroll through the people that you guys are chit chatting, which is totally good. I'm just trying to scroll through the people I've already said hello to. My Creative Roots Crafts. Hello from Texas. Hi, Flora. Thank you for telling me that it's Flora, because I wouldn't have known that. March is Shelley's birthday month. Very exciting. All right, you guys, I think we're ready to go. And Colleen Turkey is here from Wisconsin. All right, my friends, if you are here and you haven't popped in to say hello, if you want to pop in and say hello to the live chat, that's great. Otherwise, thumbs up. And if you're watching the replay, leave us a comment as you're watching so we know that you're here. All right, so as I mentioned, we are here to set up our Traveler's Notebook for the month of March. And that's what I do when we're together. Now, some of you may be using Season Pass an entirely different way, which is kind of the beauty of what Season Pass is. It's really meant for any type of crafting. And it's a little sliver of each month, right? So you get just kind of 4 papers, some die cuts, some stickers, stamps, and what, die cuts, stickers, rub-ons, yes, and rub-ons. So you get just a little bit, just kind of a nice little taster of product for each month of the year, assuming that you continue with us through Season Pass. For this year, you can purchase Season Pass as a kit, as you have been able to do in the past, but also the a la carte items. So I know some of you use Season Pass for lots of different things. Some of you set up your Traveler's Notebook along with us. Some of you use it for your 12 by 12 scrapbook projects. Some of you use it for pocket page scrapbooking. We've had people that use it for a yearly calendar in the past. So lots of different things. But while we're here, even if you're not setting up a Traveler's Notebook, I'll be talking about the product, talking a little bit about the design process as we are working, and then also talking about maybe some different ways that you could use it. All right, so with that said, let's rotate the camera. I'm gonna turn off the overhead lights, spin the lights, and then we'll be ready to roll. Okay. Oh yes, the very first thing I have to do right now is I have to plug us in because my phone before we started was at 14%, and that will definitely not last us long. So that is a very important part of our process right now. All right, we're good. We are good. Whoopsie, sorry about that. Just kind of took you for a little ride there. All right, let's turn off the overhead lights. We'll have a quick sip of water, and then we'll be on our merry way. On our merry way. Okie dokies. Paper Made Bakery, I love that. Paper Made Bakery said, I'm loving the sketches for each month. I will use those up with any leftovers. So let's just touch on the sketches really quickly. If you are not aware, we always do sketches. We do 3 sketches for each month with Season Pass. And because there are 3 months, right? That means we have 9 sketches for this Season Pass. You will find those on the blog at laylebymail.com if you haven't seen those. Once you get to the blog, there's a little drop down and you can click on free sketches and it will show you all the free sketches that we have available. But I just happen to have a couple in here, and I think I just have maybe 1 in here. Oh no, I've got all 3. I have all 3 for February. So we'll just kind of take a look, but just know that there are also sketches for March. There's also sketches for January. So with the sketches, there are always 3 different versions. There is a Traveler's Notebook version. So if you look at that, that would be the left and right side of a Traveler's Notebook spread. This would be for a 12 by 12 scrapbook layout. But guess what? This could just as easily be for a Traveler's Notebook spread. And this could just as easily be for a 12 by 12 scrapbook page, right? The dimensions are a little bit different, but you could make it work for either or both. And then you have a card. So there's your card sketch. But what I love about all of these sketches, even this, I could take that idea for the sketch and that would make a beautiful, like maybe right page for a traveler's notebook, and I could do a list on the left page. So just giving you some ideas on how you might combine some of the different products in the sketches. So super, 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 super helpful. TK, yes, the next season pass will be releasing on March 5th, the morning of March 5th. I'm going to show you guys one more thing when it comes to the sketches. Actually, I need to grab it in the other room. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to just put this right here. So I'm going to walk in the other room, and we were photographing earlier. So let me just grab that. All right, this is all deconstructed right now. So let's get to the part. Here we go. This is a list that we did a couple of Saturdays ago based on one of those sketches, right? So if we grab those sketches again, let me grab this one. So when it comes to a sketch like that, there's a number of different ways you can take that. Number one, you could basically recreate it, which is pretty much what I did, right? When you see the sketch and you see my list, really the only thing that I did different, instead of adding photos right here, I put the things in my list in those little kind of strips that I created. Over here, it's pretty similar. I just added a few stamps and then added a February sticker. So you can be inspired, basically, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, you can be inspired and copy it, right? Or you may take a couple of things and be inspired by maybe, oh, I think I might mix the cherries with the stripe on a bigger page or something like that. Or you might even be inspired by thinking, I'm not going to use any of this, but I love the idea of doing photo strips either on a traveler's notebook spread or on a layout. All right, so lots of, those sketches are super helpful. And we do those with every collection that we do, not just Season Pass. All righty. There will be a live unboxing of the Season Pass. Mary, there will be. That will be, Season Pass will actually go live on the morning of the 5th. We will do a live the evening of the 5th. So stay tuned for that. I know, aren't the cherries so cute? As soon as we started, my gosh, we probably started September, I'd want to say. Maybe last September, we started designing the winter spring season pass that we're working with. And I said, I want cherries in there. I always do for anything that we design, any of the paper collections, including season pass. I'm an inspiration board. So I start to putting together like a private board where I just find things that inspire me. And usually I do that over a couple months. And it's just when I see something, I add it to the board, add it to the board, add it to the board. And then it's very interesting when we sit down and actually go through the idea board, and Becky, my designer, kind of looks at everything. It's so funny because even though I'm not necessarily in this case like thinking cherries, the cherries were somehow on my mind. And so eventually you see lots of cherries in the inspiration board, and then that's how things translate into collection. It will ship. So Loves Griffin more. The annual season pass people, we will start shipping that season pass on Monday. I believe is it the 10th? It is the Monday after that first weekend in March. We are actually moving to a new warehouse. We're moving to a warehouse the 6th, 7th, and 8th. The Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it launches the Thursday. We're moving Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we'll begin shipping on that Monday. All righty. So when we start working with a season pass, my first step is to move myself out of the prior month. All right. So this was the month that we had been working with, right? We're in February and we're a little bit early this month. Usually we do our setup maybe within the last couple of days of the month, but I'm leaving on Wednesday. Our son's getting married this weekend. So I'm heading out of town. So we need to do this one a little bit early. Anyhow, so I always move out first. And when I say move out, this is what I mean. I have 2 Traveler's Notebook inserts that I have slip covered. And so I need to take them out. I need to take them out of the slip covers. And if you are just watching this for the first time, if you haven't really joined us for Season Pass before, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what do you mean slip cover? We are going to do this for the month of March. So just kind put a pin in it and we will come back to that. So I take off my slip cover for both of my inserts that I had been working with. I'm always using a monthly calendar insert. So that's what we're seeing here. And we'll take a look at what I did for March at the end. So we'll end up slip covering this guy. And then I think this was my sample. So this is just a blank one, but I always, in this particular traveler's notebook that I work with, I always have two inserts. I always have my calendar. And then I have kind of another one that just notes, to-do list, just kind of more as I think about things. It's just kind of a catch-all. So that's what this one would be. And I'm also going to move out of this one. So I'm basically just taking off those slip covers. We're going to do something with these tonight. Then we have all of this stuff that I had stuffed the pockets with. So one of the biggest questions we get when it comes to decorating a traveler's notebook is when the month is over, what the heck happens with all this stuff? Like, do we throw it away? What do we do? And I say, do not throw it away. There's so many fun things that you can do with the leftovers, right? If you are a 12 by 12 scrapbooker, for example, let's go back to one of these sketches like this guy, all right? So what we have here, we have this piece right here. Now, if we had set up our traveler's notebook, we don't really have that paper anymore unless you happen to buy extra paper. But what we do have is this, right? So if I cut off these little flaps here from our slipcover, I could certainly use this somehow on the base of my 12 by 12 scrapbook page, right? So it would look a little bit different than this, but I could come in with some pink polka dot and do this over here and add my photos. So absolutely I can use this. Also have the other side that I could use if I wanted to use instead. Same thing for this guy, right? So let me show you one of the things that we have done in the past. One of the really easy things to do with something like this would be to just create a card, a plain old Jane greeting card, all right? So in all of these examples are using season pass, basically slipcovers, where at the end of the month, I would just cut out a piece from one of those slipcovers and adhere that to a plain old standard size white card base. So I can basically recycle slipcover. So there's an example, and literally all I've done here is cut that piece out and smack it down on a white card base. So super simple, right? That was last October using Season Pass. So you can end up with lots of little cards just in your arsenal. And so when you're like, oh my gosh, I need a card, then you just, pull from your arsenal of cards. But another thing that we can do, and this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually do a little bit of pre-work for a list that we're going to do on when we're together next doing our creative listing on the middle of March. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these little pieces right here. When we are adding all of these things, right? And we'll do that today. We'll do that for March. But basically, we are adding all of the pieces in our pockets, doing our stamping and all of that. But when we're done, this is a beautiful, right? This a lot of beautiful product that we should be able to use. So what I'm going to do is just take all of this out. And it is all somewhat connected together. If I'm very gentle in how I pull that out, do that. I'll need to come back in and probably add a little bit of adhesive here. Do that. And then I have that last little piece. Whoopsie. This, I'm going to just cut this off for a second because we don't need that extra bulk. That was just our little flap, which I'm tucked into our pocket. And if you're like, hold on, what is she talking about? Don't worry, we're going to do all of this for March, so it will all make sense. So I have all of those pieces. Now, some of them are connected, some of them aren't, and I do want them to be connected. So what I'm going to do to make it really easy for myself right now is I am just going to take some highlighter tape, and I'm going to connect all of these in one piece. So this is special tape. Besides the fact that it's pink, it's special because it is meant for highlighting, like in a textbook or a magazine or something. And if you think about putting tape or washi or scotch tape or something like that in a magazine or on a book or something like that, if you've ever tried to then peel it off, what happens? It peels off everything, right? Which we don't want to have happen. Your highlighter tape is meant to be used for something like that so that you can peel it off if you want. What I like to use it for is something like this. I just took all those individual pieces and now that is one piece. So I can use this, look at, that's one piece. That's one piece. I can use it as kind of one piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into a brand new Traveler's Notebook insert. But that is a blank one. I don't want that one. That's the one I unslip covered. So I'm going to come into a brand new Traveler's Notebook insert. And I know based on where we are right now in the Traveler's Notebook that I have been working in, that when we're together again in mid-March, I'm going to need to start a new one. So this will be a spread. I'll do a list over here. I'll have photos over here. But I would like to use this, right? I'd like to use all of this. So what I'm going to do is I just need to make sure that it is kind of, I don't want it to be longer than my page. So let's, before we start adhering anything, we're going to have to take this guy and move him up a bit. So I do not want it to stick out. Things that stick out tend to not do very well. All right, so that should probably do. Okay. So I'm going to take my adhesive right here and I'm going to put adhesive on the full back of this. Now I could have just as easily pulled all those pieces out and used them individually. But in this case, I basically want to replicate everything that we had done in those pockets. I'm going to put that right here. Like so. Now this one, I need to add a little bit more adhesive right here because that's the only one that's really not attached to anything. All right, now I can take this tape and pull it off and everything is in there connected. Okay, so there's my little page and that's kind of an in-between page because I said I was going to make a list here and I said I was going to put photos here for my list. But how am I going to see the photos if this page is in the middle? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to come in with my, let me see here how I want to do this. I was going to use an X-Acto knife. So let me grab this. Now in hindsight, probably what I should have done was I should have cut my page before. So I'm actually sliding this under, let me put it this way. I'm going to slide this underneath, stick there. No, I should have done this part before. So it's going to be a little bit messy, but I'm going to grab my scissors out and do this. So I'm just going to cut right along here. And this is that little kind of in-between page. And I am going to have, actually, I'd like part of it to stick off the edge. So this little part right here is going to stick off the edge. And then we can continue this way. Like that. And then we will come over here like this. Now, what I may end up doing is, this guy is sticking out pretty far. He's probably okay, but let me see if I can just get him to not stick out quite so far. Grab that guy. Eek! Move him. All right. There. Just about. We're almost there. We're almost there. There. And then let's put this little guy right about there. All right, now I can come back in and this guy's not sticking out so much. Why I was a little bit concerned about so much of that sticking out was because I will end up, when I'm doing my list, I want to have photos over here, right? And if I have too much sticking out, we really won't be able to see that there are photos. So I'll do a list over here. We've got that kind of little in-between page, and then I'll do my photos over here. Now, when I get there and I'm working on my list, I'll figure out what we add there. But that's just kind of a really quick example or idea for what you can do with those things that you pull out of your pockets, right? We basically recreate it in our traveler's notebook. You could recreate that even on like a 12 by 12 layout, or you could kind of pull all those pieces apart and use them on different things in whatever project that you want. So if you're joining me on Saturdays, you'll see that again. And you guys, when you see me pull that out, I'll be like, so in our March traveler's notebook setup class, look what I did. And you guys will be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what she did. I was there. All right, so we have moved out of February. And we are ready for March. But I need to put this off to the side because you know what'll happen. We'll be ready because that'll be in like 3 weeks, and I'll have had a wedding. We'll have moved the warehouse. There'll be a lot going on, and I'll be like, what did I do with that insert? So let's try to put that in a place where it does not run from me. All right. So now that we've done that, now we are ready for our March setup. I am going to put that off to the side, and we are going to do that. I, for March, have used the Floral Garden Traveler's Notebook. This is one of my Traveler's Notebooks. I always say, it's one of my covers, the Lail by Mail covers, but I always say, you do whatever you want. If you have an orange cover, and you have an orange cover that you love more than anything, you know what? You should do March in your orange cover. If you have a red and green holly cover that you love more than anything, you should put whatever you want on the inside, right? I do generally use a different cover every month, but for me, that's just because I like it to kind of, kind of coordinate. This is springy, this is springy. But that doesn't mean that you have to. And I don't keep them all set up, right? So I don't have 12 of these at the end of the year because really, once I'm done, I unpack, move out of one, and then we're moving into another one. All right, so let's go ahead and start out by cutting our papers. So I have Joyce. Oh, thank you. So it's funny, Joyce, as I was pulling all those things out right before we started, I thought, you know what? I bet this is what Joyce was asking about. So I'm glad you said that. All right, so we're pulling out our papers, and it should be pretty obvious what papers are for March because you probably, well, if you've done January and February with me, you only have 4 papers left, right? So these are the papers that we are using for March. We're actually not using all of them. We're only using 3 of the 4. Louisa asked if I'm ready for Japan, and I tell you what, Nick today was like, you didn't pick these dates very well, and I'm like, Nick, I picked none of the dates, well, except for Japan. Yes, because like the 16th of March, then I go to Tokyo for 2 weeks. So yeah, it's there's a lot, but I have a really good team that helps, so that's good. All right, so we have this really fun floral with the kind of plaid check yellow on the back with the pink polka dot. This one I love so much. Isn't that such a fun scallop? And it's just kind of a scallop. You just have some little white scallops and then beautiful stripe. This one, oh, you guys, don't you wish we had a butterfly, an umbrella that looked like that with beautiful flowers on it? It would be so fun, but alas, we have it on paper, not for real. Mimi, it's kind of both. It is more for fun, but I am going with Vicky Booten and some friends. Yeah, so you'll see pictures and things about it. But yeah, so it's a little bit of a work trip and probably more of a play trip than a work trip, but a play trip disguised as a work trip. How about that? This one, if you know me, I love a chunky stripe. This is like a cabana stripe to me. Looks like a beautiful beach towel, a nice neutral. The birds. Again, the birds, like the birds with the birds that. You guys are going to see something that comes out with the summer fall season pass that we've carried through. The birds have these beautiful kind of patterns on their wings. If you remember, oh, you haven't even seen it yet. I was going to say, if you remember the bunnies, you haven't seen the bunnies because the bunnies are part of April. You'll kind of see that same kind of technique carried through in the bunnies. And then we really hit it hard in the summer fall. You guys are going to love it. You're not going to believe how cute it is, but the birds love the birds. Do we get everything? Oh, no, this one. And then we have that small floral and our cut aparts on the back side. All right, so what I did for my slip covers, I have used the bird paper for one of my slip covers, and I have used the kind of striped scallop for the other. And this is always so hard. Let us see the bunnies. All right, hang tight. Let's see. Do we want to see the bunnies? I have to see where it is. Usually you guys don't care if I show you a sneak peek, so let me see. Oh yes, here we go. Okay. Yeah, and it's fun. Let me show you the bunnies. Let's see. I'll show you one of the papers. I'll show you the bunny paper. But we've got to, keep some excitement, right? Some excitement for the launch. I can't show it all to you, even though I have it all in my hot little hands. Okay, here we go. Watch this. Oh yes, Louisa, I know all about the stamps. All about the stamps. So I've got a blank traveler's notebook that I'm taking. I also have my travel style traveler's notebook that I take where I have everything that's kind of pre-decorated and then I make all my notes every day. Okay. Look at that. Look at the bunnies. So see the bunnies, how they have the little, as part of their little bodies, all of those florals on them. Okay. So there are the bunnies with the florals. Here are there are the birds with the florals. Wait until you see the little forest creatures. You guys are going to not even believe it. Okay, I know, but that's not why we're here. We're here to work on our March setup. We'll be very excited to look at Spring Summer Traveler's Notebook on March 5th. And then we'll play with it after that. But yeah, there's a little sneak peek. All right, and the nice thing about the bunnies is Easter is in April, but the bunnies don't have to necessarily be April, right? I mean, all right, Leila, let's try that again. Bunnies don't necessarily have to be Easter. So those bunnies are super cute. They could just be spring if, you don't necessarily do Easter. All right. So for my slip covers, I have used the birds as one, and then I have used that stripe as another one. And I was really torn here, you guys. I was really torn. I was torn between both of these. And I'm like, I want to use both of these for my slip covers. But then I thought, I need a little contrast. So my kind of plan B, my fallback was to use this guy, but then put the card on there. So those are the two papers I've used for my slip covers. You could decide if you want to use those two. And if not, you have options, right? We will end up cutting apart this to decorate our pockets. So let's go ahead and start cutting our two papers for our slip covers. Starting with the birds. Now, when you think about cutting your paper, there are a couple of things that I want you to keep in mind. Number one is that how will it look wrapped around your traveler's notebook? This, I would like my birds to all be, I would like my birds to be living and not, the opposite of living. So if I am paying attention to how I cut, I would want to come in and rotate my paper like this. I am cutting at 8 1/4 because my traveler's notebook inserts are 8 1/4 or 8.25. So if I move over here and I cut at 8 1/4, if I'm thinking about how that's going to wrap around my traveler's notebook insert, as I turn to wrap it, it is like this, right? So my birds are living. They're nice and sitting upright on the branches. What I mean by the opposite of the birds living, if I had cut my paper, if I had put it in the trimmer this way, all right? If I had put it in the trimmer this way, and I had cut it at 8 1/4, right? So it'd be kind of like this, right? It'd be tall and skinny. I would then be wrapping my traveler's notebook like this. And now you know what I mean by the opposite of the living birds. These birds are all gonna fall off the branches because they can't hold onto the branches, and yeah. So when you're cutting a paper for a traveler's notebook to do a slipcover, you just want to be thinking about how it's going to look when it's wrapped. And so if I know I want it to look this way, I go, oh yeah, I have to trim it this way. I had to rotate it so it works that way. All right. So that's the bird paper. That is one of my papers that I am using. And the other one is this paper. All right. So this same thing here, even though it's just a stripe. You might think, well, it's just a stripe. It doesn't really matter how I cut it. But for me, it does, because for me, I want it to wrap this way. So I get lots of nice pattern in there, lots of nice color in my horizontal stripe. If I were to cut it the other way, it's going to wrap this way. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, to me, I always envision a stripe to be horizontal because I can get lots more kind of in my horizontal than I can a vertical, if that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense to you and you're like, Lael, I really don't see the difference, it's all the same, then cut it how you'd like to cut it. And I may seem to really hammer that a lot, but as Virginia said in the chat, she said, I made that mistake before. So it's not hard. It's just something that you want to really be kind of thinking about before you cut it. It's kind of think twice, cut once. Instead of measure twice, cut once, think twice, cut once, right? So this guy, again, I'm going to rotate it. And, whoopsie, I'm going to trim that at 8 1/4. And then that guy is ready. Okay, so there are my 2 slip covers. 1 and 2. I'm gonna put these guys right there. All right, we can get this out of the way. So then next up, I have this piece of green right here. This to me is prime decorating space. If I don't have that there, let me just pull that out. It's just kind of blah. Now, my traveler's notebooks, when you open them, when you buy them, are blah on purpose. And when I say blah, I mean they're all just cream. There's no pattern inside. And that is for a reason. Because if you've ever bought a traveler's notebook cover and you open up and it has a pattern inside, when it's empty, you're very happy there's a pattern inside. But if this one, let's say, had, I don't know, this dark green polka dot inside, I'd be like, oh gosh, that's really dark, and it's really how is it gonna work with whatever I wanna put in there? Or if it had a red polka dot inside. When there's a pattern inside, it really kind of dictates what you can decorate with, because sometimes things don't coordinate as well, right? The red would not look good in here if it was polka dot. But then this is really plain. And that is where I will do something like this. I'll just create a little side stuffer to go in that side pocket. So what I did there is I just took this guy. This is the piece that we had left over after we cut the birds. I'm going to trim this one to 8 inches. And I know that 8 inches is a good place to cut it because that will make it so it very easily just slides right in that little side pocket. Like so. All right. Okay. Next up, I am going to also use this guy. All right. This is the piece that we just had left after I cut this little side pocket stuffer. This one, I'm going to treat it like it's a 3x4 card. So I want to be able to use it as a pocket stuffer. Pocket stuffer just for a little bit of color. So this one, I'm going to trim to 3 inches. So it's 3 inches wide and it is now 3 3/4. We don't really care about the length. I just want that little green at the top because when we see up here, we see that's just a little bit of green that's going to give us kind of a little bit of green up at the top of our pockets. All right, so we'll put this guy off to the side like that. And we don't need this piece. So this is extra, right? We are not using this one either. So you have, these could go together. Those could be really cute together if you're working on a larger project, maybe a 12x12 scrapbook page. Or if you're working on a list or something in your traveler's notebook down the road, those would be fun together. But this would also be fun together, right? Look at that. That right there. I mean, you could do the easiest layout like that. Here's your 12x12. Here's this nice little strip. Do your photos, add a little bit of something, something, and then you're off to the races. This would be fun there too, but you'd have to kind of go like that instead, right? So those pieces we won't use. So we'll get those off to the side. Hello, the bird, I know, so good, right? Bird is so fun. All right, so now we need to get to this guy. There will always be one sheet just like this with your 3x4 cards and your 4x6 cards in Season Pass, one for every month. And that is because super easy to use as your pocket stuffers. You get lots of different pattern, lots of different color. So a sheet like this goes really far when you're working in a traveler's notebook. If you are a pocket page scrapbooker, maybe you do Project Life or something like that, look at, you have all of those to work with for the month of March. So lots of options there. I know that umbrella, that umbrella just Oh, I would love that in a real umbrella. So now we're going to cut this apart. We're going to cut this apart as you would think you'd cut it apart with a little bit of a twist. Those are all of our 3x4 cards. We're going to cut all of our 3x4 cards apart. And then when it comes to this one, we're going to cut this a little bit differently. Okay. So just go about, grab your trimmer out. Well, hopefully you've got your trimmer out. If not, you'll want to grab it. And I am just going to start cutting this apart. So how are we doing this evening? It's kind of our last, it's our last week of February. Isn't that crazy? Last week of February. It's a short month. It is a short month. No leap year this year, right? I'm excited for March. There's lots coming in March, but I'm always excited for March because it really seems like that's when, it feels like at least, on the calendar, that is when we're kind of turning the corner to spring. At least that's what the calendar says, right? Mother Nature sometimes disagrees. We're going to do something with that guy different in a minute, as I mentioned, so don't let that get too far away from you. Some of you are Southern California, so it's always spring, it feels like, right? Laura, is my soon-to-be daughter-in-law crafty? So it's interesting. I would say she's doing a lot of things for the wedding. She made us a beautiful, it's not stained glass, but you can work with acrylic and like some paint and make it look like stained glass. So for Christmas, she gave us this piece that's beautiful. She gave Nick and I that piece for our home. But for the wedding, she has done that. She's done the sign that says like Cat and Jack or whatever. So she's done that with the kind of it. She's also done table markers like that. And then for their guest book. So, there's not really a guest book, not a traditional guest book. This is very different, but young kids these age, I don't know, they're like late 20s, so they're not young kids, but in my book, they're young kids, right? But she has a canvas, probably like a 36 by 24, maybe canvas. And she created a stamp, and the stamp is just of like the shape of a head. And she has stamped on that canvas enough heads for every person attending the wedding. And then at the guest book station, that canvas will be there. And then there's all kinds of markers and things where the thought is you like doodle yourself and then write your name below your little head. So such a fun, like really unique way to do a guest book. But, she's, when they were here over Thanksgiving, she and I were talking and she's like, I don't think I want a guest book because what's going to happen? The guest book's just going to end up in a box and, we're never going to look at it. And this could be something that, we could hang on the wall or just would be totally different. So I thought, what? That sounds like a lot of fun. So I think it'll be really cool. But then I also gave her some tips. I'm like, so now what I'm going to suggest you do is have some people do it ahead of time. Like you and Jack do it ahead of time. Maybe have the bridal party do it ahead of time so people can see an example and then they won't be so like nervous to do it. Right. So, but I think people will love it. Okay. I'm like my mom. I'm like, Mom, you better go on that. And and Nick's mom and the grandmas and all right. So we have everything cut. Oh, except for one. This guy, we are going to cut in half. So we're basically going to make 2 3x4 cards out of this. So, when they were here in November, when we were talking about guest book and kind of what she was thinking, we jumped on Pinterest and we were looked at, wedding different ideas for wedding guest books. And that's where she saw that. That's where she saw that idea. And actually you can order from Etsy. I mean, you can pretty much order anything from Etsy, but she decided she wanted to do it herself. But you can order like a printable that you could go have printed at, a large foam core board or something like that at Office Max or Depot or something like that, where people have even designed that, like all the little heads. And so, very fun, very unique, that's for sure. All right, so I cut those 2 in half. We are going to use 1/2 of these, all right? But not that one. Well, or not that one, whichever one. Okay, so this guy we are ending up not using. You know what I really should do? I should probably challenge myself to take anything that we don't use, right? Take what we don't use and figure out how to. I'm just thinking now for a minute. Like we could take this, we could take this, We could take this cute piece. We could end up adding some photos around here. We could take the cards, the rest of the cards that we're not using. We could make a really easy, cute layout really quickly and do our little journaling right there with just those 3 pieces that we have left. All right. So let's get ready let's do our slip covers first. All right. And let's talk about slip covers for a moment. Since we always have new people, right? Especially now since this is a free class, I like to always just kind of do a little walk down memory lane to explain where this idea of slip covers came from. And slip covers, if you've jumped on late, slip covers basically are temporary covers for your insert. So this is one of my slip covers for the month of February, right? And I don't want to have this on there for the entire year. Say for my monthly calendar. For February, I want to have it decorated like this. But when March rolls around, I don't want this anymore. When October rolls around, I certainly don't want this anymore. So I worked for Simple Stories for 6 years, and that was, 7 years ago. I left 7 years ago to turn my side hustle into a full-time thing. So I worked for Simple Stories for 6 years prior to that. While I was there, we launched the Carpe Diem brand, and the Carpe Diem brand was our planner and Traveler's Notebook brand. So I've been working with Traveler's Notebooks quite a while before that when we kind of started doing those products. And when we introduced the Carpe Diem brand with our Traveler's Notebooks, we had some Traveler's Notebook inserts that were very decorative. And so I used those for a while until November rolled around one year. And one year in November, I thought, you know what? I would really like to, start really decorating my Traveler's Notebook every month. And this was actually what I did in November, way back then. I wanted for the month of December to have my Traveler's Notebook inserts all decorated and cute so that when I opened my Traveler's Notebook every day, it was nice and decorative for the month. So I'm like, yes, this is going to be great. So I took my insert and guess what I did? I glued Christmas paper to it. I thought, this is great. I'm so smart. I'm decorating my own, which was great for December, right? Great for December. Nothing inside was December. I'm just doing, my lists or doing whatever I'm doing. And then January rolled around and I went, oh my goodness. Yeah, I glued Christmas to my insert. And now what do? Do I keep gluing every month on top? Do I try to rip this off and put a new paper on? So I went, well, that's not going to work. And I started thinking, if I want to do this every month, what could I do so that I could have it be decorated for the month, but every month when the month is over, for example, Christmas, I could easily slip off Christmas and then move into winter and so forth. So that's where the whole concept of a slip cover came from. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to create our slip covers with our 2 pieces that we cut. So we'll start with this guy first. With this little guy, I want my birds to be on the front or on the outside, right? So I'm going to do something that may seem counterintuitive. When I fold that paper, I am going to fold it with the outside pattern. I want that pattern on the outside. I'm folding it with the outside pattern facing in, like this, right? Like this. Outside pattern facing in. Louisa, I think you worked at Basic Gray. I did work at Basic Gray. And yes, while I was there, Christina Werner was there. We were both there together. Yeah, that was a really long time ago. That was 2008. I worked there 1 year. Anyhow, I worked there for 1 year and then moved on. But yes, Christina worked there. You know who else worked there? If any of you follow Vicki Booten, Vicki's graphic designer that helps design her collections, also worked there at the same time with us. So yeah, lots of talented people. I'm not including myself in that. Lots of talented people either. Right? Nowhere near Christina or Vicki's designer. All right, so I folded the outside facing in. The reason I did that is whenever you're folding paper, you will see, and this is just inevitable, it's what happens, you will see fiber breakage. And I'm going to actually pull out one of these because it'll be much easier to see on this pink paper. So do you see all that white? That is because where we have folded it, you'll have fiber breakage. It's just what happens when you fold paper. So fiber breakage on the fold. And I would really rather have my fiber breakage on the inside as opposed to the outside. That is why I just had us fold our paper inside out with the outside facing in. My fiber breakage will occur there. When I then refold it, I have no fiber breakage there. It basically happens on that outside of the fold, not the inside of the fold. So we just reverse it and now we're good. We've got breakage on the inside and not on the outside. So just always fold outside in. Whether you're card making, whether you're, anytime you're folding paper, outside in is kind of a good start. All right, so with this one, I always put my monthly calendar insert my very first guy. So that is, I'm slip covering this one. This one is not part of your kit. If you brought the season pass kit, you have 2 lined traveler's notebook inserts as part of your kit. This is just, something that's available on my website. All right. Virginia said, such a wonderful tip. The first time I folded wrong, that breakage freaked me out. You know who taught me that? And this person taught me that probably about 15 years ago. The woman who started and owns, there's a family that owns scrapbook.com, but the mom taught me that many, 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 many years ago. So that's kind of cool. Her name is Jill. All right, so we've got that one folded. We are going to take our traveler's notebook insert. And we are taking, this is the spine, right, where my staples are. So this is the one that you guys are probably using, right? You've got your spine. So we're taking our spine of our insert, we're opening it up. That goes right in the center of our fold, like that. And then we are closing that, okay? So we've got it in the center of our fold. We may need to maneuver it a little bit. I think I cut mine just a little bit too short. That's all right. We'll pretend I didn't. Mine hangs at the bottom, but that shouldn't happen on yours. I just cut it short. All right, so I have now rotated it, right? I'm rotated it here. Here is the outside of my paper. Here is the front cover of my traveler's notebook insert. I'm going to close that again, and I am going to make sure it's flat. I'm going to push it all the way down, and then you start to feel, you can feel with your finger where that cover ends and then your paper continues. So that is where it needs to fold. So instead of, trying to get out my bone folder or something and folding that or measuring, this is exactly where it needs to be, right? It tells us that's right where it needs to be. We can feel it. So I'm just going to take the edge of my finger and run it right along there. That is, I've been doing this for lots of years. That is by far the easiest and most accurate way to know exactly where you need to fold that. All right, so then we lift that up, lift our cover up, and tuck that right in like that. Okay, and then we're going to turn it over and do the same thing. This is the back. Now, it's a really good idea before you start this, and this is easy for me to know. I know this is right side up, right? Because I have writing on here that tells me it's the right side up. If you have been carrying one of your traveler's notebook inserts from month to month to month, before you, kind of as you're setting it up, let's just pretend here. As you're setting it up like this, right? There's really no way to know what the front and back is of this, right? Which is the front, which is the back. So it's a good idea before you get too far here to make sure, is this where you've been writing? And if so, is everything right side up or upside down? If it's upside down, then you can still flip it over before it's too late. All right. So now let's go back and do this again. Yeah, I don't know what I did. Why I cut that so short. Do as I say, not as I do. All right, so that's the front. And now we are flipping it over and we are doing the same thing on the back. When you turn it over, just kind of tighten it up there. Make sure it's good. I'm pushing kind of that way. And we're going to do the same thing now. Run my finger along the edge. And that's a trust me. That is a trust me because you know what? They're not exactly even. You might think, oh, that's a 12 by 12 piece of paper, Lael. And you said this is 5 inches wide. So shouldn't I just be able to get my bone folder out and score 1 inch from the left and 1 inch from the right and fold them in? It'll be great. And I say, yeah, no, not really. Because there's a little bit of extra you need here, right? To go around your spine. So just trust me. That's the best, easiest way to do it. Easiest, quickest way to do it. And this guy tucks in as well. All right. So now you have some options. Season pass last year, so for 2025, we had washi tape in the season pass kits. And in the fall, I sent out a little survey to everyone that had bought at least one season pass kit over the years. And I said, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, what can we change, how can we make it better? And one of the things I heard pretty frequently was the washi's nice, but you know what? I really don't need washi. I have lots of washi. I'm finding I'm not using the washi. So we ended up for 2026 replacing the washi with the rub-ons, which has been very, very well received. What that means is you no longer have washi in your kit. The reason I bring that up is because some people will choose to, if I open this up here, and you can see when I think unpacked that or moved out, put a little piece of washi tape here just to kind of hold that in place for the month. Okay, so if you have washi and you want to do that, you can. You don't have to, because as long as you are putting this into your Traveler's Notebook insert when you're done, you're putting it through the elastics, this is not going anywhere. It's not going to move. You're not going to lose the cover. If you're taking this out and you're only taking the insert with you somewhere outside of the Traveler's Notebook, then I probably would, I would recommend you put a little piece of washi there just to hold that place temporarily until you're ready to move out of March and into April, and you slide it off. All right. So that's the first first optional thing that you can do. The second optional thing that you can do is to round the far outside corners, not the corners of the spine, just the outside corners. The reason I always do that is my Traveler's Notebook inserts have rounded corners. All right. Your paper, when you create your slipcover, that is not a rounded corner. That is a right angle. Right? That is a right angle. So if you do not round your corners, there is nothing right here that is supporting that corner. What that means is over the course of a month, you will probably end up with bent corners because there's just nothing to support under that corner. So that's the next thing I usually do is I come in and I take my corner rounder and I will round those corners. 1, 2, and then I turn it over. Again, there's the spine, and I do the same thing over here. This looks a little funky just because I'm a little bit short. All right, there we go. That's the next thing. Now we're ready to decorate that guy. So what I did for our first slipcover, I'm using that sunshine card. So let's take a look at the cards that I use to decorate with, because you might be like, I don't really feel too sunshiny. I think I want to do something different. So let's pull what I have used. I've used the sunshine card for that one. For this one, I've used I keep wanting to call that butterfly for some reason. The umbrella, not even similar. The umbrella card. And then when we move over here, I have used this little piece that we cut off of our leftover from the birds. I used this one as a pocket stuffer. I used this one as a pocket stuffer. I have used this one as a pocket stuffer. And then when we look at the pattern, oops, I used this guy too. But this guy, I really only use it for the blue. I am really not using any part of that. And you might look at that and go, but Lael, I love that bird in the cage. And I say, guess what? There's a die cut just like that. So you've got a die cut of the bird in the cage. So. But I just kind of used that blue for that little pop of color back there. So we're putting that one off to the side as well. They all obviously have the same pattern on the back because they all came from the same sheet. And I did use one of those right here for a little bit of that pattern. So the one that I use, I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess, right? Because you have these three. You could use any of those three, or you could even use this guy. You could use the back side. So really any of these I am not using. And if you wanted to use any of these on one of your slipcovers instead of what I've used, you totally could. Oh, how did I just lose our chat? That was interesting. Hang on. Oh, okay. Hang on, friends. If I can't see our chat, then... oh my goodness. If I can't see our chat, I cannot see you. So I need to figure out live chat. Let's try there. Oh, there we go. Okay. All fixed. No panic. Nobody panic. I can still see it. All right. So you can use any, oh, you guys know you can use whatever you want, but these are the 4 that I had left that I did not use, although I need this for the backside. So I'm just going to use that guy. All right. As we get ready to kind of do our slip covers and everything, this guy, I'm ahead of myself. let's do our other slipcover before we decorate. All right, let's do this guy. This is my second slipcover. I want to fold with the outside facing in because this is the outside of my slipcover. Outside facing in. Do you continue writing in the same insert even though the month has changed? Or you start, Virginia, I absolutely continue writing in the same insert. And this is probably the best example of that. This is my calendar, right? So my calendar, I don't get a new calendar every month. My calendar keeps going. And that's why I'm slip covering, because I can take off, even though I'm still continuing with my same insert. I take off and then put a new one on. So my second insert that I normally use, like I mentioned, whether it's got all my notes and, you know, things that hit me in the middle of the night and I scroll them down, scroll them down, what have you. That one just moves from month to month. And so as soon as it's full, it goes off to the side and then I start a new one. That's a great question. All right. So outside facing in, we are going to, it really doesn't matter. And this is when we get sad. I'm like, oh, but I love those. They're so cute. There's too many good patterns. And that's always really hard when Becky says, okay, Lael, here's all the patterns. And, you know, we make tweaks or whatever. I'm like, okay, we're good. Now she goes, no, what goes on the front and what goes on the back? And I'm like, oh, because I'm like, I want this, but I want this too. So what do I do? And that's when I say, well, if you have a hard time choosing, then you can buy the paper pack. You know, you can buy the a la carte paper pack. So you've got plenty. Okay. So same story, different insert. We are opening, taking our second insert. That is the spine. We are lining that up in the center and we are closing. Let's see. Virginia said, oh wait, hold on. Carrie said she has 4 in her Traveler's Notebook. She's got monthly, weekly, habit, and a listing. All right. So she really is filling hers up. So a monthly insert, a weekly insert, a habit tracker, and then her lists. Oh yeah, for sure, Virginia. That's the whole purpose of the slip covering. Take the insert out and then put a new cover on it. Yeah, you'll end up with a lot of, you'll be like, why is Lael doing that? Why do I have so many like partially filled inserts? This doesn't make sense. All right. So now we did the same thing. I am pushing that down, making sure it's nice and tight in that center. Push along, do that with my pinky. It's really interesting. When I teach, sometimes I teach a project, a full-blown Traveler's Notebook project. Not like this, but it's a project where we're decorating all the pages and everything, where it's a little bit more themed. So there are written instructions with that. And it is always such a challenge for me to try to write out this process. And then push and then move your hand to the edge and then run your finger along the edge. Yeah, it's so much easier when there's a video. They just show you. We talk it through and walk it through and do it. All right, so that, we lift that up. That is the front cover of our insert. And we just fold that right over. Turn it over. Same thing. Virginia said she does 3 daily thoughts, glimmers, and quotes. Perfect. Well, Virginia, if you have a glimmers insert, you will be really excited to see something that is part of the March release. Not the season pass for March, but the March product release. There is a new themed insert coming for glimmers. All right, so let's do this. Same thing again. Run my finger along that edge. It's so hard to keep the secrets, you guys, especially now that we're doing monthly product releases, and then we've got season pass, and then there's a new travel collection coming in May. There's just so many things that I just want to share. I get so excited. It's hard to have something done 6 months ahead of when you guys get to actually see it, right? All right. So now we're doing the same thing. We're coming in and rounding those corners. Again, we're not rounding the spine. That would be really hard to do, but we're rounding the corners. Let's see. Angela said you had to get the paper for both sides. I know, right? It's too hard to choose. Too hard to choose. And the nice thing is the patterns are so beautiful that you will use it. You will always use it for sure. Carrie said I'm horrible at secrets. I hate surprises. I know, right? All right. So let's go back now to our first slipcover. So one of the things, if you are new to Lael, one of the things that I have been doing probably for 20 years, I'm not exaggerating, is what I call outlining. So that's going to bug me. So you won't even know how much that bugs me that I cut that short. I outline everything I do. And when I say outline, you see how this one has a fine black outline all around it and this one does not. You'll notice my card has a fine black outline around it. You'll notice that this insert has a fine black outline around it. That is something I've done forever. It's like when you wear your hair parted one way, if you ever try to part it the other way, it just looks like something's wrong. Same thing. If I don't do that, it looks like something's wrong. So when it comes to outlining that, like that, here is a tip if you are outlining. I will always try to open up my insert to do that, because when your insert starts to get full and you have this, you have kind of this edge from the spine. If you're trying to do your outlining with it closed, if I try to do that, I always go right off the edge. And if you do, you do, right? You don't need to get a new piece of paper. It's just art. So I've opened that up and we're going to go like this. And when I do that, this arm, I'm right-handed, this arm is staying flat. It is flat on my work surface. Oh my gosh, Virginia, I wish it was stitched on a machine. I even look at a sewing machine and the whole bobbin goes like that, right? You know, when the bobbin no. You can sew on paper. You have to have the right needle and you have to have a lot of patience. And I am not a patient person, so I fake it. Right? So this, yeah, it could look like stitching, especially if you were to do something like this. Especially if you were to do something like this, right? Like your little dashes like that, then it would really look like you stitched it. But I just do the outline. My arm stays flat, and as I outline, one continuous. You notice I do one continuous. I find if I start and stop, you end up with, well, it actually even like that, it looks like it's stitched, right? Because, you know, when you stitch, you end up with that. And maybe you want that look. But generally, I like that to be smooth like that. If you stop, then you'll end up with those little, almost like needle holes there. That's funny, I've never done that. And then when I get to the end, then I rotate and go again. Another thing with this, I find the faster I go, the more straight it is. If I try to go slow, again, I get those kind of little jerky motions, and it just doesn't look, to me, it just doesn't look right. So one kind of straight, one in one run. All right, so that guy's ready. The outlining is done. And I don't do the back. I don't know why, I've just never done the back. Yes, Allie does a lot of stitching, right? And when people do it, it looks beautiful. I just, yeah. And you know what? Virginia just made a great point. She said, paper's easy. If you mess it up, it's only paper. It's not like it's silk or wool, right? Wool, I think you've got a little bit of a fudge factor with, but silk, once you put the needle holes in there, you're kind of, right? And I do that with this too. So, same thing, just do my little outline. Some of you like to ink the edges of things. This is, I guess, kind of my way of inking. It gives you the same-ish effect. It really just makes it pop, especially when you put it down on something. Like that guy will go down there, and then it just makes it pop a little bit. All right, but that one's not ready to get adhered yet because I have taken a rub-on. So when I looked at this, I'm like, this is really cool, but it looks like something's missing there. I feel like I need something there, right? So rub-ons to the rescue. You have, with the winter spring season pass, there are 2 6x8 sheets. Hello, Edith. There are 2 6x8 sheets, all right? When you open your package of rub-ons, you actually have 4 sheets. You have the rub-on or the art, and then you have the protective backer. It's really important that you keep those two together because that backer is what protects or prevents your rub-on from rubbing onto something that you don't want it to rub onto, because that's the way rub-ons work, through pressure. And so we want to make sure that those 2 sheets stay together. So when I open a new package of rub-ons, and I've already done this, I did this when we started in January, I staple the 2 sheets together. And when I say the 2 sheets, you want your protective backer and the rub-on, the art, stapled together. And I just up in the same corner, or up in the corner, right? This one, kind of wherever you have room to staple. So that keeps those together. And that's really important because then your rub-on won't go on something you don't want it to. Then I look at the rub-on that I want to use. And in this case, I used this guy. This is another important part of the process to me when it comes to working with rub-ons. I take the design that I want to work with and I cut it away from the sheet. All right. So cut it away from the sheet is way easier to work with like that. I'm just gonna set that aside for the minute because look what I just did. I now created a separate sheet, right? That was all held together before, stapled together, but now these are on their own. These are just kind of floating out there. So I do not want to leave those that way. I'm going to come in again with my stapler. Doesn't really matter where I do that, right? Come in with my stapler and I want to staple that together so that that protective backer is now like Siamese twin with its piece, all right? That will prevent your pieces from separating and your rub-ons going somewhere you don't want them to. All right, so now we're ready for our rub-on. This cute little guy. This is something that we introduced with Season Pass. This is called stacked word art. All right, so basically we are taking a bunch of words and we are stacking them. So stacked word art. You see these in our rub-ons now. You're starting to see these come out in our stamps. So you'll continue to see that style come out throughout the year. In fact, where I just had a minute ago, because we were shooting it for some social media. Where did those go? It was in the news. So these are the new in the news 3 stamps, and there is your stacked word art. So it's just kind of a nice, really fun way to decorate something. So we've got this little guy. We have our rub-on. I'm going to move this out of the way for a second, and we want to put it right there. So I am going to separate its friend. We no longer need that. That's a protective backer. We'll put that in the garbage. And I'm going to place that right here. As soon as I place it, that is where it needs to be. Okay? So don't lay it down and go, oh, shoot, it's crooked, and then try to pick it back up again. You don't want to do that. The way that rub-ons work, if you kind of feel them just a little bit, I don't want you to kind of go like that, but you can feel that they're sticky, they're tacky. So that when you set them down, it helps them so they kind of don't move very much while you're working with them. But because they're tacky, if you set them down and you try to pick them back up again, part of it will stick and part of it won't, and you'll make a big mess. So basically, you just set it where it's going to go and then leave it there. Even if it's crooked, it's going to be crooked. You want to leave it there. Trust me, you don't want to try to move it. The biggest thing that you want to remember right now, once you've stuck it down, is that you don't want to let it go. Okay, so no matter what I'm doing, I will always be holding on to it. And that is because with all of this, if I start rubbing it on and then it moves, it's going to move the rest of it. So it will move the rest of it, so I'll end up with a kind of crack in my rub-on, which I don't want to have, okay? So I'm going to hold on. Your rub-ons have a popsicle stick in the package. You can use the popsicle stick, you can use a bone folder. I use this little guy. I sold these for a long time. Tonic has discontinued these, so now we're working with our tools guy overseas to see if he can kind of make something like this for us. But really, you just need something that's not sharp to transfer the art from the sheet onto your card here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start rubbing. And you'll notice I'm holding on over here, which means I can rub all of this on. I want to kind of continue to go over that, make sure I get it nice and kind of, feel like I get it rubbed on really well. With the black, you can actually see when it releases because this hasn't released, it's black. When it releases, it kind of goes to like a little opaque gray. So you can see it pretty well on the black. A little bit harder to see on the color, but we don't really have to worry about that because there's another way that we'll know here in a minute. So basically, I have now rubbed on everywhere that I can because my fingers are in the way here. But remember I said don't let go. So what you want to do is hold on over here and I start rotating. I'm still holding on. I'm still holding on. I'm still holding on. Now I can get to this part. So haven't moved. Well, I've moved, but I've always been holding on. And we're getting this part. Same thing, whether it's our popsicle stick or bone folder or whatever we're using. We're just, working with it. And then at some point we think, hey, we think we're good to go. So here, you still don't want to let go. I am going to grab my tweezers and I am going to start lifting this up. The reason I don't want to let go is if there's any part of that I haven't rubbed on that's still kind of on the top sheet, If I haven't let go, I can just lay it right back down. It hasn't moved, and then address that spot, rub it on more until I'm assured that everything is rubbed on. So still holding on, start lifting with my tweezers, lift, lift, lift. As I slowly lift, I can see if there's any part of that that did not transfer, right? But everything's good. If it wasn't good, I'm still holding on. I just lay it right back down. Everything is still in the same place, and I'd come over here and go, oh, there it is, and then we're good. This kind of reminds me of like curling, right? We're like curling. We're rub-on curling. When they, rub the ice to make the little stone thing go faster or go where they want it to go. All right, so that looks good. We're good. We've now transferred. So that's the magic of rub-ons, because look, that now looks like it was printed on that card. I don't have any shadowing or ghosting around it. I don't have, when you use a sticker, sometimes there's the white halo around it. We don't have any of that. So I have one more thing I want to do. I have another rub-on. And it is this little guy. So this little cluster of rub-ons there, those 5, I have used those right there. You also have stamp, all right? So you could stamp this if you wanted, or you could use the rub-on. I'm going to use the rub-on. So we'll do the same thing here. And now this won't take as long because I don't need to talk through it, right? I've done all the explaining. We all know how to use rub-ons now. And if you're scared, it's okay. If you're scared, find something on your rub-on sheet that you don't, you're like, you know what? I would gladly sacrifice that. Like maybe those guys. You think, I don't really know how to rub-ons. I'm a little bit scared. Cut those little guys out. Play with them so you get a feel. And then, you can feel confident in working with the rub-ons after that. But they're easy. And I will tell you guys, my rub-ons are amazing. They really are great. They're like butter. They just like butter. Okay, there we go. Hold on and start to rub. And this, I'm going to just rotate, right? Because I can't quite get everything. Rub on. Kind of like Cracker Jacks. Like back in the day, I don't know, do Cracker Jacks still have a little tattoo in them? I mean, they're like them, but not at all, right? You'd get the little Cracker Jack out and you'd put it on your hand, and then you had to get like a wet paper towel and you'd do that. But basically, the way they are alike is that that design on the little piece of paper, the tattoo, was transferring through pressure and also moisture from the paper onto your skin. So that's the same thing. We're basically transferring the tattoo, the art, from our paper, our little sheet, onto our skin or the paper, right? We're just not using water. Don't use water. Just pressure. All right, now we're going to lift that up and see how it looks. Are we good? Actually, this is interesting. In doing that, let me see if I can get that again. Let's looky here. That, I have pulled up a little bit of that. All right, well, that's just pulling up. Okay, so let me show you what happened. I can see right here. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that because it's just a little bit. I have a little bit of black right there. So that, I accidentally put that onto that. So you see how there's now a little break in my eye? Because that sticky from that rub-on, the backer, actually pulled that off. So, I mean, you don't really notice it, but that's what happened there. All right, so that guy is now ready to go, and it is going to go right there. My placement when I am adding a card on my slip-covered insert is basically where I would place something if I was hanging it in my house, right? If that is a beautiful painting and I'm hanging that in my house, I don't put it in the center of the wall, right? That would look odd. I put it kind of in the top third of the wall. I also don't put it in the bottom third because that would look odd. You kind of have to look down to see your painting. So that's just kind of where I always go. And that's what I do, right? If you want to put it in the center, you can put it in the center, but that's kind of my default. I always go to the top third. All right, so that guy's ready. Now let's look at our other one. This guy, we're going to do a little bit of stamping on this guy, but first I need to do my outlining. That's funny. We're talking about dogs here. And Virginia said she has her daughter's dog. Her daughter couldn't keep her to the living situation. She helped them out by taking her, and 6 years later, ha ha ha. Some of you have heard me talk about our cat Reggie. Same exact scenario with our son Sam. Was Sam's cat, and then Sam moved somewhere where he couldn't have a cat, and so Reggie is now our cat. And it has probably been somewhere between 2 and 3 years. But Sam was about 15 minutes away. And part of that deal for us adopting, taking in an orphan, was that Sam had to come and clean the litter box 3 times a week. So I kind of got good. I'm like, yeah, Reggie can stay with us. However, there's some stipulations. You have to come clean the litter box. And he's pretty good about it. All right. So now we have this guy. This little card is going on here, but there's some other things that I'm going to do. So I don't want to adhere this yet. Let's take a look at what I did here. Again, this felt like it was really blank and empty. And these cards are designed that way for a reason. Knowing that we have other fun product in the kit that we might want to add. We might want to stamp there. We might want to put a rub on there. So with both of those, we had room down there and we also had room in here. We're not going to do a rub on here. We're actually going to do a stamp here. The stamp that I use is this stacked word art from the Winter Spring stamp set. All right. So when we go to the stamp set, we have this guy, this currently details documented. What's really fun about these stamps in Season Pass for 2026 is that we've really worked on making them a little bit more useful in that so much of what you see on here could be used for anything and can be used for a long time past Season Pass. That guy is simply perfect day, highlight of the month currently. This was amazing. Here's a story, a day to remember. Your label, even your month definitions, and those continue throughout the year. So at the end of the 4 Season Passes for the year, you will end up with all definitions for all 12 months. So a little bit of theme, flowers, snowflakes, and hearts, but everything else is very much, usable for any time. All right, so we are taking this guy, this stamp, that stacked word art. And, ooh, I didn't clean that off last time. Bad stamper. All right, I need to clean that. So let's grab our stamping block to start. If you have not stamped with me before, one of my biggest things. Well, first of all, if you haven't stamped with me before, that means you haven't used these stamps yet, which means you need to prime or condition your stamps before you use them. We won't go through that together right now, but I will tell you how you can get what you need. On the back of that stamp set, the packaging, and mine's not in the package any longer, but you will see something like this. This little guy right here, if you scan that with the camera on your phone, that will run you through a free class about the different ways that you can prime or condition your stamps before you use them for the first time. That is really important that you do that. Your stamps, as part of the manufacturing process with photopolymer stamps, they can have a little bit of residue from the process. So that residue is on there. You can't see it. I've used these before. That's why mine's black. But your stamps have a little bit of residue on them. And if there's residue on them, it may prevent the ink from actually adhering really well, so you get a nice even stamped image. So if you've not stamped before with these stamps and you haven't conditioned before, I'm going to tell you to don't do this yet. Don't adhere it yet to your Traveler's Notebook insert. Later, watch that video. Make sure you condition your stamps first and then do that, all right? But one of the things I talk about when we start stamping is to right size your stamping block to your stamp. So find a stamping block, if you can, that is most similar in size to your stamp. It's much, much, much easier to stamp if you have something that's about the size. So what I mean by that is I really wouldn't want to use this same stamping block, let's say for these little hearts. Now it would work, right? But it's way larger. And so that just means it's going to be a little bit harder for me to handle and get a nice, even stamped impression. So if you can start collecting, start purchasing different size stamping blocks for your stamps, that will make life really easy, much easier. But now I need to clean this because this has some black. Or no, I like to draw an analogy here. If you ever eat dinner and you put your dishes in the sink and then you go to bed, and in the morning you wake up and try to clean those dishes. It's a little bit harder to clean the dishes when the food has set overnight, right? So much easier if you clean your dishes, your stamp right after using it. So in that case, that black wasn't rubbing off very well because it's been sitting there, I don't know, a month, who knows how long. So I needed to give it a little bit more. I just used a little stamp cleaner there. Okay, so I've cleaned that off really well, and we can see the difference now, right? It's nice and clean, but there's some moisture on that. There's moisture on that because I just cleaned it. I recommend that you always dry after cleaning if you are going to then use it. Okay, let me say that again. Dry after cleaning your stamp if you are going to use it right away, because some of your inks are water reactive. I use Distress Oxide inks in my stamping, and Distress Oxide inks are a pigment-based ink. I just stepped away for a minute while I grab an ink color. Your Distress Oxides are a pigment-based ink. Pigment-based inks are water reactive. They take a little bit longer to dry than a dye-based ink. A dye-based ink pretty much dries instantly, but a pigment-based ink takes a minute to dry. Because it has a little bit of drying time in there, you can use it with water to do some really cool things. Now, I don't use my inks for mixed media, so if you're only using inks for stamping, we don't really care that it's water reactive until we clean something and there's still moisture or water on there, and then we go to put ink on there. Water reactive. So it kind of, the properties of the ink will do some interesting things that if I'm not doing mixed media, I'm really not looking to make happen. So I have pulled out Kitsch Flamingo. With every season pass, I match colors of Distress inks for you. So it doesn't matter if you're using a Distress Oxide or a Distress ink. I've matched the colors. So these were the colors that I have been using for the winter spring season pass. And what I try to do is pick colors that would work for multiple things. Like we used Kitsch Flamingo in January because there was some pink in there. I think we used Speckled Egg in January. We might have used Speckled Egg in a little bit of February. Fossilized Amber. Well, Fossilized Amber we're really using only in March because it's hard to pull that into January, February. But Kitsch Flamingo. So Kitsch Flamingo is what I've used to stamp this stamp right there. So I'm going to ink that up. And before I stamp on that card, I don't want to stamp right away. I want to stamp on a piece of scratch paper. I always recommend that you test stamp first. Test stamp on something you don't care about. Piece of scratch paper, piece of copy paper, an old bill if you still get bills in the mail, paper bills. Whatever it is, you want to test first because there are a lot of things you can find out, learn while you're test stamping that I would rather learn test stamping than I would on my project. So I'm going to just open up this book here and I'm going to stamp. Nice even pressure. I don't want to rock the stamp. If I rock like this, that way, and that's very much exaggerated. If I rock, I end up blurring the top and bottom point of my rock. So you see that L is blurry, and up there, the top of the details is blurry. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's what happens when you rock back and forth. You're applying undue pressure at the top and the bottom of that stamp, and it is going to blur. So, nice even pressure. Another thing that you are testing for, I'm just going to clean that off there. Another thing that you are testing for is there any lint on that stamp? Maybe you have a Reggie. Maybe you have a cat or dog. And maybe their hair gets in, their hair gets everywhere. So sometimes I'll end up with a Reggie hair on my stamp. And if there is anything on your stamp, your ink is not going to adhere there. So you would then stamp, and then there would be a part where there was no color because the hair's in the way. I always have to clarify there. Reggie is not my husband. Reggie is the cat. I shouldn't have long husband hairs. Nick does not have long hair. But, people hair too, right? So it looked good. I'm going to come in here, and I want to stamp that right there. Nice, firm, even pressure. Don't want to rock. And pull away. There is my nice, cute stamped umbrella. All right. Now, one of the things I did here, I felt like there was a little bit too much extra space right there below the umbrella handle. So I cut that off. So we'll cut that off in a second. But you notice I put that off to the side. I'm not going to cut that yet. It is still a little bit wet. That ink is a little bit wet. It's a pigment-based ink. It takes a second to dry. I don't want to put that in my trimmer right now. If it is wet and I instantly put it in my trimmer to trim the bottom of that off, I'm going to run the risk of kind of blurring some of that because the ink is still a little bit wet. So I'm going to do what I should do. I'm putting my dishes, I'm cleaning my dishes off and putting them in the dishwasher right after I eat, right? Cleaning my stamp off right away. And then I'm going to put that back on here. And we'll do something else with that in a minute. So now I can come in. I'm going to do my little outlining on here. I'm trying to be careful to make sure I don't put my, my hand right there. Ooh. Now let's do our cutting. So I just cut a little bit of that off. When you have a stamp like that is long, you want to make sure that you apply even pressure, but you also want to make sure you apply even pressure in the center because you can see right there, I lost a little bit of the M and it's okay. I just didn't quite get enough even pressure in the center. That's another thing that when you're testing, you can learn different pressure points, but especially when you have a longer stamp, make sure you press in the center. Terry, hi Terry. All right, Terry, I'm going to say someone in the Facebook group has, and I think they've shown, in fact, I know someone has, because she showed, I think most of it, maybe Carrie Johansson, maybe, but I know there's something in the Facebook group. All right, so this guy is almost ready, but it looks like I did one more rub-on. I did a little sun rub-on right there. So let's go back to our rub-ons and cut this guy out. So in the rub-ons, the Season Pass rub-ons, well, all of our rub-ons have 2 sheets. Season Pass always has one color sheet and one black sheet. And that really makes the black sheet all the more user-friendly, usable, because you can use it on anything. You're not trying to match color, right? So here's my little sun. You know that song, Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun? And this just goes right here in the corner. And it does actually go on top of our little stamped image there. That's also why we want to make sure that we allow that plenty of time to dry. We wouldn't want to do that right away because we'd make a little bit of a mess because that pressure that we're applying to adhere the rub-on would end up probably smearing where that ink is. It doesn't take a long time. Usually I'll just, set it aside and do something else for a minute or two and then come back. All right, let's see how our sun's looking. Whoopsie. Very good. Easy peasy. They pretty much peel right off, but still hold on and peel as you go to make sure. All right, so as we look at our example right here, we have a couple of other pieces that I added. So let's go to our die cuts. Die cuts, die cuts, die cuts. I have a brand new, we have a brand new company doing our die cuts going forward because I was not very happy with some of these. All right, so we've got these two guys. We have our yellow label and we have the date circle. And those are just right in there. And then we have that little kind of greenish flower, bluish, greenish, I don't know. Not that blue, kind of teal. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, there he is. All right. So now, I think the easiest way to do this is to I'm going to add my adhesive basically all the way behind this, but just not this little edge so I can tuck those things underneath. That will be easier than trying to figure out exactly where those go before my card is there. So So we'll put this guy right up there like that. And then we are just having, we're not going to see the date. We are just going to see kind of that little half circle. Now, if you wanted, you could say, well, Lael, that's silly. If we're only seeing the half circle, then why are we going to waste the date? Cut that off like that and use the date for something else. Put it back in with your little die cuts. Now this guy will go, just tuck kind of right under there like that. And then this little man also, well, it's going to tuck, pretty much the whole guy is tucking under, right? Because we're just seeing this little part of the label where we're going to put a word strip sticker. Boy, I'm quite talkative tonight, aren't I? What time is it? Oh my goodness, we've been going almost 2 hours. Holy cow, Lael. Wow, I'm really, you know, I'm a talker, but I'm really talking tonight. All right, we have a little word strip sticker there, and that word strip sticker is here for it. I figured we'd use pink since we have that pink, right? Let's do here for it. So here for it is this sheet. That's the sheet I already used. So second pink line, 2 in from the right on the second line. And I'm going to use my little tweezers. Much easier. We also have, as of the spring summer season pass, a new company doing our word strip stickers for us. Now these were great, nothing wrong with these, but the same company that is doing our die cuts. And this little guy is just going to go right here for it. And then we have this guy, our little flower. Using a little glue pen there. It's way too hard for me to try to get that, you know, my tape runner in there. And then this guy is going to go about right there, right? It's just going to kind of cover that up a little bit, right like that. All right, there we go. So that one is going into our insert, like so. I'm going to put that in through one of the elastics. This guy I am going to keep out for a minute because with this guy, we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at what I used, all the rest of the product I used to decorate my March calendar because I didn't only use 1 pack for this whole season pass. So I haven't, basically I'll be working with what I have left. We'll take a look at that at the very end. But now we need to decorate our pockets. So I'm just going to do this, even though that's not outlined. I would say never do this. I would say pull that out and don't try to do this in your traveler's notebook. Much easier if you pull the paper out, but there we go, because it just looked weird to me. Alrighty, now we're ready for our pockets. So we are going to start with the top, work our way down with the cards. And then if at any point on a card we need to stamp or rub on, we will stop and then do that and then come back. All right, so starting from the top, this is that little piece that we had cut off. All right, that's the piece that we had cut off of our bird paper. So I'm going to outline that. It looks like I've got the white up at the top. This would be another reason why you might want to outline, because if I did not outline this and I put it in this way, we'd have the white up at the top that would look like it just wasn't there, right? When we put it in there, it'd be like, wait a minute, what is that? Why is that so short? Why didn't it go all the way up to the top? I'm very excited about this weekend. Yeah, about Jack getting married. We are very excited. It's on Sunday night, so super, super excited. Thank you. And thank Bob as well, Terry. I appreciate that. It's very sweet of you. Let's see. Sandy said 3-week cruise to Europe, so most of these to record what happened where we were, but I will see what. Oh, perfect. I love that. I love that you're sharing. All right. Okay, so next up, our next one is this, documenting the little things. So here's a little tip. Really all we're going to see is this part, documenting the little things. So do you know what I could do? If we want to be thinking about stretching some of our product to be able to use for something else, well, I really only need a little bit of this, right? I need to make sure I have enough that it will, like, you know, stick in there. but I really only need about that much. So that would be something really cute that I could use, kind of when we're going back to something like this, right? If we had this here, we could maybe tuck this down right here and then do a little bit of journaling or a little title there, right? Or it could even go this way. I mean, I guess that guy's kind of upside down, but right? So if you're going to hide something, think, I'm hiding that. Is there any way, could I use that? Would I use it for something? And if, even the other side. So really, I only need this part. So let's now just do our little outlining here. And this guy will go right about here. We are going to cover up, we're covering up part of that with this next card. And that would be this one. So same thing again, you guys. We are only really, I only really use that top part. So I could come in and I'll just do this on the ground. I don't need to do it up there. So I've just cut that part off. It says different is beautiful. That will go off to the side to be used for something. And then I really only need this little part here. Doing my outlining. And this guy will come in right about there. And I'm not doing any adhering yet, right? Right now, all I'm doing is kind of stuffing the pockets. Next up, we have this guy. And I mean, I've got enough of that blue that you see, periwinkle, whatever that is. So I'm sacrificing the bird. Don't worry, we have a bird die cut. That's what that is. That's a bird die cut that we'll use. But I'm sacrificing that card for that color. Now, if you have cardstock that you want to pull in because you want to use the bird for something else, then absolutely you should do that. Pull in cardstock. I thought this was what I had this insert handy and it was empty and I thought, is this the one? I have one that I've used that is really tight when it gets down to that bottom pocket. I think this is it. All right, I'm going to cheat. There we go. It's just too tight. All right, we're all still kind of sitting there. Everything's sitting. And then we have another one. That's this guy. And I'm, again, only using part of that. So I know because that bottom pocket is tight. It's a reject. Kind of like that little monkey. You guys been following the saga with a little monkey in the zoo in Japan? Oh my gosh, with its stuffed animal because its mom abandoned it when it was born. Oh, like life is hard. And then we've got a monkey baby who has to carry around an IKEA stuffed orangutan. Punch, yes, right? Reject, it's a reject. This is a reject like the monkey, like Punch. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know. If you're super emotional, be careful because Punch is, it's a cute, I mean, oh. This poor little monkey, then they try to introduce him to the other monkeys at the zoo. And then the other monkeys are mean to him because he doesn't belong. And oh, it's heartbreaking. But I think it has a good ending. I think. I'm not sure if we know what that is yet, but I think it does. All right. Oh, I haven't seen that. Mary said, all the memes are amazing. Like when the apes from Planet of the Apes give him a spear. I love it. Jesse said, OMG, how many mental breakdowns have I had over Punch? You think he has a new mama. I know. I think another monkey at the zoo finally like warmed up to him and gives him hugs and, oh, but just heartbreaking. And then IKEA donated a whole bunch more of the orangutan stuffed animals to him because, oh, it's so cute, but sad, but cute. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, if you need a reason to cry, if you feel like you have all this pent up anxiety and emotion and you really just need a reason to cry, go find Punch. It'll let it all out. Okay, so this is the last one that we have. With my traveler's notebooks, we have the pocket configuration that we've been working with, but then you have this area down here. Now, this is just a little leftover residue. That's why it looks funny right there. I've done this before with something else and then still have a little leftover adhesive there. So we've got this area. This is a great area for decorating, right? But I don't want to put my rub-ons in here and stamp on here because that's part of the traveler's notebook, right? I don't want to do that directly on there. So I have to figure out a way how we can still use that pocket but decorate it. And we're doing that by creating a little flap. We're going to take this card and we're going to score it and fold it where the fold will go into the pocket and then the rest of it will sit on top of the pocket. So usually what I do is I just kind of line that up right where I would like that. I love this card. I think it's so fun. So we're going to do that. And then I go, okay, probably about there is where I want to fold it. No measuring. And then I'm just going to tuck that in. I will tell you what that is so you know, so you don't have to guess if you don't want to. That ends up being, we scored at about an 1 inch and 1/8. That's why I usually don't measure. It's about 1 inch and 1/8. So I just lined it up there, wanted it to be right above that bottom pocket, and then we do that. And then that guy will end up, that fold goes into the pocket, tucks into the pocket, and then this guy sits right on, what is going on there? Of course I've got a reject one for this. Anyhow, that sits right on top of the pocket. But we're not ready for that yet because when we look over here, we've done a lot of decorating. And it's much easier to do our decorating like this than in the pocket. So we're going to set this off to the side for a minute and tackle this guy. So first thing that we have done is, oopsie, we move that there and come back in with these. So first thing that I did, I added, we're going to start with this piece. This flowers, raindrops, sunshine, green grass blooms. That stacked word die cut. Okay, so there we go. And that I put right about there. Well, exactly there. But I used foam squares or pop dots for that. With that, when I'm working in a traveler's notebook, don't ever use any kind of dimension inside. When I say inside, I mean like in my inserts. That's because as soon as you turn the page and try to work on the next page, like stamp or write or anything, that dimension totally gets in the way and it's really difficult to work with. So I don't use any kind of dimension on the inside pages, but when I'm decorating the pockets, it's a lot of fun to add a little bit of extra dimension. So we're going to take that guy and I'm going to pop dot the back of it. So it is going to pop off of what we put it on. Grab these guys. Oh yes, Jesse. He will definitely be on in the news list for February. 100%, right? 100%. There'll be a big old picture of him. There'll be lots to put on there in the news. Olympics and, you know, whatever else goes on there. There's a lot. I don't know. Savannah Guthrie's mom being kidnapped. I mean, there's just a lot. But we could focus on the good. Even though Punch started out as very difficult, I think it's going to have a happy ending. Don't always have to do hard news. We can do good news like that, right? I mean, you can do lots of good news, no matter what country you're from. If you had athletes participating in the Olympics, you could talk about that, right? All right, so this guy is where I ended up putting him is kind of right above that documented right there. So this is going to go right about there. And that's a great way if you're putting, I mean, these are kind of similar, right? We're putting colored words on colored words. And it helps to kind of separate those if I pop that piece up because then it gives the shadow and gives some added dimension. We're also going to, wait on these two. We're going to take another one of our rub-ons, and it is the rub-on that says springtime. So it's this little guy right here, springtime. So I'm going to come in. I don't obviously want to cut through that cute coral scallop. So we'll kind of come at it this way. And again, we cut these off because it's way easier just to work with the rub-on that we want, as opposed to try to work with all of them and try to make sure we don't get rub-on where we don't want it. So if we cut it away, it makes it a lot easier. Now, probably I am going to do this. I'm actually going to cut this whole guy off because I worry about it, how a part of it's flapping off. But I'm going to do that. Remember, with rub-ons though, we need to make sure they stay with their friend. It needs to stay with that backer sheet. So we'll just staple those two together. And we're good. So those will be ready for me when I'm ready to use them. And then those eventually will all go back in their little rub-on bag. All right, where did spring go? Springtime. Okie dokies. So now what I want to do, his little friend is no longer with us. That protective guy doesn't need to be with us. We don't need our bodyguard anymore. That's our rub-on bodyguard. We don't need it anymore. This guy I am going to put right, kind of right above that. Oh, right like that. Bring this guy back in again. You have in your rub-ons a popsicle stick. Popsicle stick works just as well. Popsicle stick, bone folder. Maybe you have one of the basic gray rub-on tools from back in the day. Back in like 2000 and in the early 2000s. (2005-ish) maybe. All right. There we go. Let's see how we're looking. Remember, we've still been holding on. We don't want to let go in case part of that didn't actually release. Slowly, if I can get that. Come on. Slowly peel back. Are we okay? We're good. And now we're ready for some fun, some more fun. The flower umbrella, I know, right? Okay, so now what we want to do, there is again, because this is how we design it. We design it knowing, well, I design it knowing how I'm going to use it. So there's all this blank space up here. Now, remember, that was part of a 4x6 card. So on that 4x6 card, we certainly could have left it 4x6. We could have done journaling or something like that. But here, we're using it as a pocket stuffer. And we've got all this blank white space, which is prime decorating space for some little flowers. So we're going to take that stamp set before we used flowers that were a black rub-on. But now we're taking that stamp set and we are going to stamp some flowers kind of in that white area. I am once again right-sizing my stamping block to my stamp. So I have lots of different size stamping blocks. You'll find lots of different size stamping blocks on my website if you are in the market for stamping blocks. And I am using fossilized amber. So if you are using distress inks, whether it's distress oxide or distress ink, I felt like the fossilized amber worked really well with these colors. So once again, I am not going to just start stamping right off the bat. I am going to use how about a little piece of scratch paper here. Oh, they're so cute. Now here's a little tip. When you have, I mean, that has a very distinct shape to it, right? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I just stamp like that all the way around, it looks like, it doesn't look as, we're going to end up with some holes in there just by the way the design of the stamp, right? So what I try to do when I have a stamp like that is rotate. So come in and change the direction so that it ends up being a little bit more organic looking. All right, don't always stamp it in the same direction. Rotate as you stamp. Okay? So keeping that in mind, we're going to bring this guy back and I'm going to end up a little bit stamping off the edge. So you can see I'm stamped off the edge right there. So I'm going to bring in my scratch paper again and stamp off the edge so that the edge, what I've stamped off, is now on my paper instead of on my work surface, right? Basically, we've just made a little mask. And we're going to come in here again, but I want to rotate. And then we'll come up here and I'll rotate. And we're just kind of going to continue until we get all that little area stamped in around our little springtime. And I'm doing this right now before I put on those other die cuts so that if any part of that, we'll see our little flowers wherever the die cut isn't. All right, my nice little stamp background. You will always see stamps like that on Season Pass. So on this one, we have the little clusters. So we've got clusters so that you can work with them kind of in smaller areas. clean that off, and we'll be ready for our next thing. Hello, Cheryl Hall. Cheryl, if you watch the beginning of this video, I go over some different examples on what to do with the slip covers after the month is done. Terry said, hang on. I hope you would throw out just one little hint about the upcoming March release. Can you please tell me if there might be travel-themed rub-ons? Asking for a friend. Yes and no. So there are new rub-ons coming out with the March release. They are not travel. They are glimmers. There are travel rub-ons coming out in May with the new travel collection. So yes and no and yes. All right, now this guy, we're almost ready. We have our little cuter than cute. It's not a butterfly, it's an umbrella. There we go. And then a little purple flower. So, little purple flower. Once we get this guy done, remember I said we were starting with the cards and then we'll continue to decorate, but we kind of have to get all of this done because we've got a stamp and it's way easier to stamp outside of the pocket than in your pocket. So this little guy is also pop dotted, but just the top part of the umbrella. Don't worry about that bottom part. I don't even know how I guess if you had a really narrow strip of foam adhesive, you could do that, but we're not worried about that. We just want the top part to be popped. You leave on your cruise on Sunday. Huh. Where are you going, Terry? Where's your cruise? Okay, there we go. And now we've got a little purple flower. Virginia, yeah, I know. It's hard when we have nighttime classes, right? Virginia's fading. Yes, Virginia, you can watch the rest later. And you were so sweet. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for good wishes for the wedding. I appreciate that. All right, there we go. And now we're going to tuck this guy into the pocket like this. And we just need a little bit of adhesive, okay? So we don't want to cement this in stone, right? We don't want this to be there forever. We just want it to stay for the month of March. So I am just going to take my little adhesive, my tape runner, and do a little tiny blip there, maybe like 1/2 inch. And that guy is now secure. Now what I forgot to do, so please do not do this. Please do not do this. Don't do this. Before I did that, I forgot to outline it. And I promise you, you will not like me if you try to outline this right now the way I am. It takes a very steady hand. And I'm not saying you don't have a steady hand, but I just know it's not the easiest thing in the world. So by all means, do not wait to do your outlining until your things are in the pocket. It's so much easier if you do it before. All right, so here we go. Now we're ready for our decorating. Start back up at the top again. We need this cute little guy because you know what? We also have St. Patrick's Day in March. But you know what? St. Patrick's Day, you will probably never see from me little leprechauns and things like that in something like this. So this is how we get a little nod to St. Patrick's Day without it being, nothing wrong with that, but that's how we try to keep things a little bit more neutral. This is how we get a little nod to St. Patrick's Day in there. Our little clovers, our little 3-leaf clovers. So I'm just adding some foam squares, pop dots I always call them, even though they're not dots. They used to be, way back in the day. They were pop dots. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive right there along the stems. And this guy is going to go right about here. So now what we've done, remember I said we really don't need much adhesive. We don't need adhesive because now that die cut is now holding those two pieces together in place, right? Over here we have a little pink heart, which is right there. And then we have that little cluster of flowers, a little flower cluster. So let's see where that is. If you happen to come across this guy, go ahead and pull that cage out. If you happen to come across the yellow bird, you could pull him out while we're digging. Yellow bird with pink wings. But what we're really looking, well, we might as well look for all of them. We need that little cluster of flowers. Oh, here it is. I can tell from the back side. So when I start working with Season Pass, and I actually do this twice, I do it for what I'm working on. When I create the samples, I separate out by month. And then I also do it again so that when we're actually all doing it together, I still have them separated. So when you first get a Season Pass, now we're at the end of the spring or the winter spring one, so it's kind of a moot point now. But when you first get a Season Pass, what am I saying? When you first get a new Season Pass with all the months, it might be easier to separate them all out month by month. All right, we need that guy. We need this. Where is that? Sometimes I don't quite get them separated out in the right. We need a purple heart, a here's the story. Where's a purple heart? There we go. So now the last one I need is this little pink guy. I wonder, is he in February? He might be. I might have put it in February on accident. Or did I lose him? Well, I'm not sure why he's not there. Let me look over here really quickly, and if I don't find him, then I have done something with him, and no idea what. Usually what happens, at one point I take all these out. Oh, here we go. One point I take all these out and photograph something, and then sometimes they don't quite make it back where they're supposed to be. All right, there we go. And it looks like I also need one little orange flower there. So let's put that back. One little orange flower. And those are all the pieces that we need. Those little flowers. There we go. Little orange flower. All right. So as we continue, over here we have pink flower and then, pink heart, and then we have this little cluster. So I'm going to do the cluster first. The cluster is pop dotted, and then I'll be able to easily tuck the heart underneath there. So we're spending a lot of time doing this, right? We're spending a lot of time decorating our Traveler's Notebook insert for the month. And you think, well, Lael, that's a lot of work just for 1 month. And I say, oh yes, but guess what? When we're done with this, we continue to use it, right? Like I showed at the beginning. Showed at the beginning of class tonight what an example of one of the things that you could do in your Traveler's Notebook with it for one of your lists or something like that. So even though we're taking a lot of time, then we can use it again. There we go. And now we're ready for this guy. So this guy is going down flat. And when we adhere him, look what's going to happen. We're going to be adhering him to 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, and that's going to hold all of that together. So we never need to add any adhesive to this. All of these pieces by adding our die cuts to everything is what's going to, the glue that's going to hold them all together. This guy is going down flat, and he just goes right about there, looks like. And then we have our cute little yellow bird. Now, I only used one bird here. So you have a blue bird, you have different color birds. And if you find a different color bird that you would rather use, then use a different color bird. You do you. Whoopsie. Okay, just a few pop dots on him. That'll just make him stand out, pop a little bit from the bird cage. Then we have this little guy. So this little guy says life is sweet. Now, mine doesn't say life is sweet, right? Yours doesn't either. It's because we took a rub-on and we adhered it. So we're going to cut this little guy out. One crafty. Ephemera looks a little different than yours. More white background, a little less bright. So this is on one crafty bee. Kyla, that's Kyla, right? Kyla. It is. It's different. So we sold out of a season pass within 2 weeks. This one, which was like record time. We also I had some issues with the first manufacturer of the die cuts. And some of you may have something like this, where it is not cut well at all. I mean, look at that. That's not okay. That's not what it's supposed to look like. So we started working with another manufacturer. The other manufacturer, these are digitally printed, and then these are cut on a laser printer. The new die cuts, and these are all of the Lail by Mail die cuts going forward, have a one giant metal die. So one big metal die for all of those, and basically a sheet of white paper goes in and it goes cuckoo. And so it cuts all of them out at once. And that's really what they're supposed to look like, Kyla. They're not supposed to look that bright. So you have the newer ones. That's why they look different. All right, so I'm taking the Life is Sweet, and the nice thing about the newer ones is that they don't have some were really bad. Some we completely had to reject and throw away. That all happened in in the beginning of December. It was not a happy time to be around here. It was very stressful because we had a lot, and we had to go through all of them and reject, and then just some of those things that happen behind the scenes that just happen. Nothing you can do to prevent them. Then you just start working with a different manufacturer that is just better at that type of product. All right, so lift this little guy up. Make sure it's good. Yeah, so started with some of the year in review, some of the season pass for winter, spring, and now going forward, all of the die cuts are now nice and how they're supposed to be. All right, so this little guy, I just put one pop dot kind of at the end, and this is tucking right under there. Life is sweet. Life is sweet. Now, if it said life is tweet, that would be funny, right? Nick Concar, are we all set up yet? What? Nick? Nick's in the other room. That's my husband. Dork. Are we done yet? I think that's what he's saying. I think he means, are you done yet? But he's saying, are we all set up? Are we? Yes, because he's in the other room setting up his traveler's notebook with us, right? No. Wonder what he wants. If it was Olympics, he'd still be watching the Olympics. But the Olympics are over. Did you guys know that the Winter Olympics in 2034, so 2 Olympics from now, are in Utah. Joyce, oh gosh, Joyce. So Joyce said, do I know when we'll be getting the new version of this? No. That is a process when you start creating a tool with someone. Sometimes it's a lot of back and forth, and it's overseas. And so basically they have to they make the tool, and then they send one to us to say, okay, does this work? And we say, you need to tweak it or whatever. So it's kind of a back and forth process. So no idea. I'll reach out to Amy and see if she knows what's happening. What I'm going to do here, because this is going to bug me, and you shouldn't have to do this. And going forward, you won't have to do this. But all that extra white there is really bothering me. So I'm just going to trim it. You've never seen Lael get angry. And I don't get angry very often like that. When the die cuts came the way they did. Oh, yeah. I was yelling. And I don't yell because I know that yelling doesn't solve anything. But I was yelling because after I was nice for about 20 minutes, and the resolution the VP of the company was giving me on what she thought we could do to fix it was just so, I will not swear, so backwards, that I finally started swearing. Okay, so there we go. There are our cute little pockets. Our cute little pockets are decorated. And our Traveler's Notebook is now set up for the month of March. So cute, right? But we're not done. Well, you guys are done. I am not done. I mean, I kind of am, but I'm kind of not. And this is why. I have always used a monthly calendar insert in this particular Traveler's Notebook that I use, that I change up every month. That's where my calendar goes. Not like my daily, all the things I need to do, but appointments, traveling, and all of that goes into my monthly insert. So in November of 2025, we came out with our own monthly inserts. And that's what I have used here. And that's what you saw me slip cover. So I have used the winter spring season pass. And this was just all leftovers. These were things that I did not use in our monthly setups. So for example, those were all the leftovers from January. And this is what the calendar starts out like, right? So this is the calendar is kind of nice and cute over here, but it's total blank slate, total tabula rasa here for you. So when we come over here, I start decorating. So with what I have left over, let's see what I did for March. There's February. For March, just a whole bunch of leftovers, right? So started out with the rub-on. You have those scallop rub-ons, and there's a couple of different ways that I use the scallop rub-ons. So for March, I just trimmed it down and it went right under the month. When I used it for the month of February, I cut them into a couple pieces. So I cut one to go right there and I cut one to go right there. Now for February, I did not have any birthdays in my life, right? So the birthdays didn't apply for February. So all I did was took a little word strip sticker and stuck it over there. So if you're like, you know what? I don't want notes and ideas here. I don't want birthdays. I don't want this month. You could just cover it up with stickers, kind of like I did there. But with the little scallop sticker there, cut it into two pieces. Or not sticker, excuse me, scallop rub-on. And then with the scallop rub-on in January, the scallop rub-ons are designed to be the width of your Traveler's Notebook page. So that's what I did with the one for February. Just a couple of different ideas on how you could use those scallop rub-ons in this set. Then, very interestingly enough, I don't think this was by design now that I think about it. You have for each month, and you'll have this for each month of the year, throughout the year on Season Pass, you have like these little check boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have 5, one each for each month of the year. Candy hearts. So this is the one for March. This is what happens if you are not holding on tight. You see how my flying kite started flying? Not really supposed to look like that. But they exactly fit right in between those lines on the calendar. So it's just kind of fun. Hints of spring, booming bulbs, flying kites, four-leaf clovers, raindrops for March. In birthdays, I write whatever birthdays in my family or friends there. Notes and ideas. So here, this is where I stamped the March definition. March definition, the month when we wait for spring to officially debut, but bundle up just in case. And if you live in certain parts of the country, you know that is true, right? And so that one, to stamp that, I used mowed lawn. So kind of springy, right? I did February there for the month definition, and I also did it January there for the month definition. Use our little flowers, but we used yellow on our card right there. I'll just change up the ink color and look how different they look. You just play with the ink color, right? Your stamps can go really far just by changing the ink color. There they are in yellow. There they are in green. Then I just started filling in my calendar with my pen. Your inserts, your monthly insert, your calendar insert is undated other than month, right? So you have days of the week, and then I just come in with my little black pen and fill in. That means you can use this monthly insert whenever. It's not specific to a particular year. You could also start using a monthly calendar insert now. You could pick it up now and start with April, and then you'd go through 2026, and then you'd have your first 3 months of the year for 2027. You just kind of pick it back up. So as I am going through my calendar, I add the numbers, and then I come in and add anything, any appointments, any a wedding, right? Any travel, Tokyo, any things like that. So I want to make sure I add those big things before I start decorating, so I don't decorate on top of something I need later. Then I just start piecing things in. A little bit of stamps, some word strip stickers, some rub-ons. Those birds and rub-ons are so cute. A couple of die cuts here. There's my rainbow and Feeling Lucky. I used Feeling Lucky on St. Patrick's Day. Rub-on, rub-on, rub-on. Down here, I used one of my die cuts, stamped some of my yellow flowers, and then used the bloom rub-on. So whatever you have left over, right? You have so much left over, even after we did all of this for March, right? I had all of this left over. I didn't open anything new. I didn't use a second pack that you guys would have to go buy a second pack to do any of this, right? Your things for season pass for each month can go really far, right? You just have, again, it's just a snippet. It gives you enough to kind of do a layout or two, decorate your traveler's notebook, make a bunch of cards, tags, whatever you're doing, but then to have things left over. All right, so that's what I did for March. Okay, friends, that was a long one today. Holy cow, it's almost 9 o'clock. That was almost 2.5 hours. All right, so I'm turning off, I'm going to turn off the studio lights, turn on the overhead lights, we'll flip the camera. Then we will talk about what's next. What's coming next? Not tonight, but what's coming next. So if you missed me at the beginning, I mentioned that the spring summer season pass is done. It's here, everything's kitted, it is all ready to go. It will release on March 5th, all right? Thursday, March 5th. It'll release the morning of March 5th. And then that evening of March 5th, sorry, I'm gonna try to get that straight. Evening of March 5th, I will do a live. I'll do a live unboxing, so we'll look at everything. We'll look at all the papers like I normally do. We'll kind of take a look at all of that. And then that will start shipping the following Monday. So that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're moving to a warehouse. So there'll be no shipping. Well, we don't ever ship on Saturday, Sunday anyway, but there'll be no shipping that Friday. So we'll start shipping season pass, the spring summer season pass on Monday that would be Monday. Let me look at my calendar. That'd be Monday the 9th. We'll start shipping Monday the 9th. So Thursday the 5th is when the morning of it will go live. An email will go out then. So just kind of put it in your calendar. Remember, I'll post it on Instagram and Facebook too, in the Facebook group, so you know, on Thursday, March 5th, and then start shipping Monday the 9th. So if you ordered the annual season pass, your things should start shipping on Monday. So watch Monday the 9th. So watch for your email with shipping confirmation and tracking number. We will do the April setup. So if you are joining us for the next season pass for spring summer, we will do the April setup if you want to mark it in your calendar on Tuesday the 31st. And I apologize, I know that's very late, but that is because I get back from Tokyo on the 29th. And I promise you, we do not want to be doing a live after I've taken that really long flight the next night. I will be in no condition this time of night to be doing a live. So we're going to do that one on Tuesday the 31st. And that would be Tuesday, March 31st for our April setup, if you want to add that to your little calendar. We are only listing one time. Well, kind of two times, but one time in March. So if you normally do creative listing with us on Saturdays, moving the warehouse the first weekend, and then I am gone to Tokyo the last 2 weekends of March. So that means we have one weekend to list in March. And that's a pretty big weekend. That is always mid-March. We celebrate our listiversary, kind of when we started doing all the lives on YouTube during the pandemic. So this will be 6 years. 6 years we've been doing our Saturdays. So we're splitting up. We'll do a Friday night and then a half day Saturday. So we're kind of doing a little bit and a little bit. So really 2 sessions, but Friday night, Saturday. So that is what we have coming for March. Now, Season Pass launches March 5th. There was still a whole March release like we normally do. I needed to separate them because there's a lot that's going to be happening that mid-March. There's a lot that happens. Idea book comes out, new products come out, some other fun things happen. So I needed to separate those. So you'll see March release happen on the 13th of March. And then we've got a fun celebration. So stay tuned for that. All right, you guys. Yes, the listiversary, 6 years. That means the pandemic started 6 years ago, which is, I can't even believe, because the very first Saturday I did was the first Saturday of the pandemic after the world shut down. That was on March 21st. So normally we do it around then, but because I'll be out of the country, we're doing it a week early. All right, you guys, I'm just looking at the chat. How does it work if we paid for all season passes? Will the kit automatically ship? Laura, yeah, you automatically ship because you're done. You paid for the whole season. You paid for all 4, so your kit will automatically ship. If you think there's anything that you want to add, probably what I'll do is I'll probably send out an email to everybody, maybe like the week before, which would be soon, probably a couple days before, because of the wedding. I'll send out an email a couple days before saying, hey, the spring summer season pass is going to start shipping on Monday the 9th. If you want to add anything to your order, let me know, because you've already paid for shipping. If you did the annual season pass, you've already paid for shipping. So if you want to order something, you might as well have us throw it in your box because it won't cost you to ship anywhere. All right. Will you still be notified about restocks? Diana, yes. As long as, if something's out of stock, as long as you have click the little button that says email me when available and you put your email address in there, all of that is automated. So as soon as we add inventory back in, it knows that you asked to be notified and it handles all that. No human intervention required. So is there something you're waiting for? And I might have an idea to tell you when it's back in stock. Definitely going to, just needs to list from Japan. I know, yeah, 15 hour. It's a 15-hour time change. We do not want me to list from Japan because I think it'd be hard. It would be hard. Let's see. Oh, flip through the moving sale. Yeah, Mary too. Seriously, there's still stuff in the moving sale. A lot of it is sold through, a lot, but there's still stuff. So if you haven't checked out the moving sale, you should go check out the moving sale too. And that's on the website. Diana, if you are still here, I'm going to wait for a second and see if you want to tell me what you're waiting for. Or if you want to shoot me an email at lailbymail@gmail.com and let me know, then I might be able to give you an idea of when it should be around back in stock. I think, let me make sure I got everybody. I think I've got all the questions. So if I missed a question and you're still here, shoot me an email, lailbymail@gmail.com, and I will answer you. In the news too. Yes, okay. Yes, already on order. And I have a huge reorder coming. So, I think probably about, let me look, what day is today? Today's the 23rd. So sometime it should be in that first week of April. It should be the first week of, not April. Gosh, no. First week of March. The first week of March, not April. So if you haven't already on the website, go to In the News too, click the little button that says email me when available, and then you'll be notified as soon as it comes back in stock. All right. Okay, you guys, I'm off. I know it's 9 o'clock. I need to eat dinner. So I know it's late to eat dinner, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Hope you have a lovely rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your week. And I should probably say have a great rest of your next 3 weeks. Well, no, I'll probably see you on the 5th, right? I'll see you on the 5th for the live when we do the unboxing of this, hopefully. If not, then I'll see you the weekend after. So a couple weeks. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Take care. Be good to yourself. And thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.